Well, this wording is not mine. Doctoral student in Bucharest. I told the students when I gave a presentation to them, to the doctoral students in the first year, 1 year ago, I think, or 2 years ago, that there seems to be an interest in the cave these days in architecture. And she had the idea, amusing, but I think rather accurate, to describe this phenomenon as the cave revival. So I begin now with the cave revival. A house in Belgium by this unknown to me architect, Jacques Gier, a very interesting house. Look at this. Now, it might be considered depressing by some people, but I find it astonishing. And in my opinion, in no way inferior to Villa Savoy or the Falling Water, and certainly not less personal. It does have a lot of personality. If some people might think that it represents a certain pessimism, that might be true, but it's not just pessimism. I like it very much. It's organic, it's fragmented, it's wild, it's non-conventional. Inside is also very, very interesting. The people who commissioned this must have been and must be interesting too. It seems the furniture within the cave is, found on the street, so to speak. There is no design here, and I like this very much. I hate those glossy interiors with, an excessive design. No, this is, people in transition through the cave in a way, and it says something about the ephemerality of life. So it seems these are I don't know if they were those who commissioned the work, but and they are not so young, but they are probably young in spirit if they chose to live in such a house. Bravo to them, and bravo to the architect. Enough with the straight lines of the T-square and the rectangle. Here we have a different kind of vision, and even the outside is I think is impressive. Now, so this house was built in Belgium. Now we arrive at the Museum of Natural History in New York City, which Studio Gang, the office of Ginny Gang, is building is already, the construction started 1 or 2 years ago, but because of the pandemic, it slowed down the process of, it was supposed to be finished, the construction, probably this year. Anyway, you'll see some images from the project. So after receiving approval by the New York City Landmarks Preservation Commission last fall, well, this text was written, I don't know, 2 years ago, Studio Gang's expansion of the American Museum of Natural History is preparing to begin construction, reports New York, whatever, as permits for the project have been filed with the Department of Buildings. To be known as the Richard Gilder Center for Science, Education and Innovation, the expansion will consist of 245,000 square feet across 6 floors, approximately 80% of which will be located within the current museum footprint. 3 existing museum buildings wings will be reduced and adapted to accommodate the center, which will house a variety of new exhibition and educational spaces. So these are facts, numbers. This is what Ginny Gang said. We uncovered a way to vastly improve visitor circulation and museum functionality while tapping into the desire for exploration and discovery that are emblematic of science and also part of being human, said Ginny Gang, founder of Studio Gang, at the reveal of the design in 2015. Upon entering the space, natural daylight from above and sight lines to various activities inside invite movement through the central exhibition hall on a journey towards deeper understanding. The architectural design grew out of the museum's mission. So now you see some images, and as I said, it's already advanced, the construction. But this presentation, when I made the construction, didn't yet start. But it is a cave indeed. And you know, it is a cave in New York City, in the center of New York City, designed by the architect we will celebrate tomorrow, Ginny Gang. And this interest in the cave is at the beginning of the 21st century is rather intriguing. It is provocative. Why are architects, and you'll see a number of them now in this presentation, why are architects today at the peak of our technological achievements and at the peak of our so-called civilization, contemplating in a way a return to the cave? So this is the cave within a building which has other parts which are less cave-like. So this is the project, but it advanced the construction. Arata Isozaki, the Sendai Himalaya Center in Shanghai in China. Here we have it, you know, with guardians protecting the entrance into the cave. Now, not all the building is a cave or cave-like, but certain parts of it, and the important parts, the receiving parts, the public spaces, this is part of the museum as well, and so is this. But this part, inside very much so, is cave-like. Why did Isozaki do something like this? A question. It seems we need the archaic, we need the primeval, we need volume 0 of history or prehistory. So this is Isozaki, who received the Pritzker Prize a few years ago, 2 years ago, I don't know exactly. Time flies indeed. Now, of course, you could say, wait a minute, what does that stair or the escalator have to do with a cave-like interior? It's a contrast, of course. It's a contradiction in a way, but it does seem, when you have a number of important architects design cave-like structures, there seems something in the air, an attraction by the cave revival. Not everything is cave-like, you know, for example, the slabs, the floors, perfectly horizontal, sometimes even the ceiling. But all in all, it's obvious that there is an interest in the cave. Man-made caves. I learned a few days ago that someone was selling a plot of land in a village in Romania called I'm beginning to forget. So it's a village in Romania, very close to two very important caves, Peștera Muierii și Peștera Polovraj. So someone is selling a piece of land there. So I thought of making an effort and buy it and build a man-made cave there, because the cave of Zamolxe, the primeval god of the Dacians, that was his cave. There is even a house in that village called the House of Zamolxe. So I thought of, so there is the cave, and then I would have been tempted to build a cave-like house, so called the other cave, man-made, because I'm a man of my time. I'm also attracted by caves. I like caves. Anyway, maybe it's just a concession to fashion. Let's hope it's not. Now, another building by Isozaki, this time in Doha, in Qatar, the National Convention Center, which officially opened in 2011, is one of the most sophisticated convention and exhibition centers built to date, boasting iconic design bearing the cedar tree. Designed by the renowned Japanese architect Arata Isozaki, the spectacular facade resembles two intertwined trees reaching up to support the exterior canopy. The tree is a beacon of learning and comfort in the desert and the heaven for poets and scholars who gathered beneath its branches to share knowledge. But it's not, anyway, you'll see the tree, but it's more than just the tree. It was conceived with a focus on sustainability. Yeah, sure, that's what architects like to state in order to receive more commissions. The building is designed to operate efficiently with innovations such as water conservation and energy efficient fixtures. Yeah, sure. But look at the buildings. Now, this is not literally a cave, but it is a return to something primeval. In fact, it is a return to nature before architecture. And the interior also has, approximations, of something cave-like. Again, what would make an architect today do something like this? This is the question. On one hand, nostalgia for a lost nature. On the other hand, maybe nostalgia for for the beginnings, those beginnings that Louis Kahn said are in harmony with the human nature. Now, in the case of Isozaki, there is something a little bit unconvincingly pop, but there are also intuitions that are worth considering, I think. His intuitions are correct, that there is something in the air in our time where what he did is not truly out of place. Now we see another Pritzker Prize laureate, the Indian architect B.V. Doshi, who worked with Le Corbusier and Louis Kahn. And he built this remarkable art gallery and studio for an Indian artist in Ahmedabad in 1994. So this artist, Gufa, was, I don't know if this was the name of the artist or the gallery. No, I guess it's the name of the building, was designed to demonstrate the collaboration between an artist and an architect. An underground gallery housing the works of the artist. Now, the name of the artist is Hussain Makbul Fida. Doshi's design was inspired by a discussion between the two that occurred 30 years prior to the project. It was about a response to climate and the benefits of interred spaces. In designing the landscape and entrance, the architect connects the building to the extended world. So here is the building. It's not a large building, but I think it's very well conceived and very well built. And the artist painted a black snake swirling on the top of the roofs. So it's essentially an underground building. And look at the interior. Now, of course, there are precedents. There is inspiration coming from Gaudi, but it's still an original work and very interesting, and I would say very convincing, cave-like, with splashes of color that the artist brought. And I think it's an excellent work by Doshi, collaborating with the artist. Whose artworks you see here, actually. So we saw until now here two Pritzker Prize laureates, Arata Isozaki and Doshi from India. Some images from construction with simple means. He was able to create a significant architecture. And the dog seems to feel at home in this ambiance, in this environment. And it is said that where a dog likes to sleep, there is a home. Now, I don't know if this dog likes to sleep here, but it seems to be kind of peaceful here and meditative. You see the black snake painted by the beneficiary, by the client, by the artist. I guess he didn't like too much whiteness, so he felt like contributing himself. And I'm very happy that the architect allowed him to. And so, because it is an inspired intervention, I think. It is a cave, very much so, with electrical light, with electricity inside, yes. Now, mad architects who are coming on strong, young and restless, from China. The Ordos Museum, look at this from the outside. Of course, impossible to do with a T-square and a rectangle. I keep underlining this for the schools of architecture, which keep thinking that we live at the beginning of the 20th century. We don't. Ma Yan-song, the founder of this extremely successful company, studied at Yale University. Then he worked for a few years with Zaha Hadid. Then he returned to China, and now they are unstoppable. They have so many commissions, and they are building in various countries and very interesting projects. If you are open-minded and you live in the present, that success could reach you. If you are not assuming the present and you live in some kind of delusional past, era, success will avoid you. Kisler born in Cernăuți, when Cernăuți was part of Romania. He is the best known Romanian architect in the world outside of Romania and the least known architect within Romania. Now it's true, it's also because of him, because he refused to acknowledge that he was Romanian. He even lived in Bucharest, he knew Romanian. I have a monograph on him which says Romanian architect living in the United States, born in Romania. Anyway, it was in Cernăuți. It was a little bit ambiguous, the whole situation, because it was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire at some point. Now it's part of Ukraine. But his connection with Romania was strong enough for the Kisler Foundation in Vienna to contemplate 2 years ago to bring a very big exhibition with his works to Bucharest. I don't know why that didn't happen, but the director of the foundation wrote to me 2 years ago that from Vienna, that exhibition was supposed to come to Bucharest. Now we see the Endless House by Frederick Kisler was a strong believer in an elastic spatial concept, one that must be capable of providing an optimum response to the varying social concerns and uses of its occupants. The initial shape of the Endless House shows a flattened spheroid, which became a basis for his manifesto of Correalism. He taught Correalism at Columbia University in New York. And I like the word very much because it is about correlating. It's about bringing together. And I think this is the business of art in general. One of his main arguments for the derivation of the shape is that it is based on a lighting system, a shape that would allow ample light to reach every corner of the room without being broken up by corners and interior walls of a conventional building. Now, unfortunately, it remained only a model. All ends meet in the endless as they meet in life. That's what he wrote. Life's rhythms are cyclical. All ends of living meet during 24 hours, during a week, a lifetime. They touch one another with a kiss of time. They shake hands, stay, say goodbye, return through the same or other doors, come and go through multi-links, secretive or obvious, or through the whims of memory. He was a poet, of course, and he wrote like a poet, and he drew like a poet, and he imagined architectures as a poet. And this is why he's so celebrated outside of Romania. And maybe that's also the reason why he's so completely unknown in the country he was born in. And this must be corrected, really. Anyway, here is, there are some models. There are interesting, very interesting books published with his works. He also built a temple of books, the Shrine of Books in Jerusalem. But his built work is not as interesting as his imaginative work, which remained at this level. This is Kistler and his endless house and the plan. And again, a view of the model. Cave-like, but in this case, what is kind of strange and intriguing is that the cave is elevated on those pedestals, on those pillars. But the interior is very much cave-like. Again, I don't think he used too much the T-square and the rectangle here. I'm just thinking now, maybe a T-square could be invented to trace organic curves. I don't know, crooked, distorted kind of a T-square. I don't know. Please think about it. Maybe we can bring into the world a new tool for architects, those who like to work with the T-square, but would like to achieve levels of organicity they cannot achieve with a so-called classical T-square. And by the way of the T-square is actually not so old. You know, we think of it as representing the ABC, the basics of architecture. Well, from what I read, and you can verify on the web, that's where I read too, it came into being in the 11th century. So, you know, what about the builders before the 11th century? I'm sure they had all kinds of tools, but the T-square per se apparently came into the world in the 11th century. So it's not so old. Certainly the prior architectures didn't use it as such. Now, this is a sketch by Kistler, not by Frank Gehry. Ishigami, who attempted to achieve dematerialization, and an architecture is thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner, almost to the point of disappearing. He's now reconsidering certain things, and look at this. This is what Ishigami did. And what is this? It situates itself in the same preoccupation with a primeval and with a cave, yes. Well, too bad that the functions of these buildings are actually mundane and very contemporary. You know, this is a house and a restaurant bar for, you know, serving a drink or something. So it's not, primeval is what the appearance, what the architecture, but the function is not. And it's interesting how he built this. You know, it's like a process in reverse by pouring concrete and then removing uh, the remaining parts, and he got this informal, you know, worm-like. It is like you know, some excavation provoked by some animals, by worms. In they are mentioned. So you see here what he did. You know, he removed this and he got this. And what can I say? In essence, is about the same thing. We are eager to return to prehistory at the peak of civilization, if I can say so. But one thing is for sure, it is possible to imagine strategies of building that are not based on the paradigms used on the drafting board, and not even on the computer screen, like here, for example. Now, this is an art museum. Let me just a second, because I forgot what this is. And God, it's just, it's a long text and I don't feel like reading now. It's, I think, in China, and it's an art museum near the sea or the ocean, and which is also underground. And I don't know, now I feel guilty I didn't read. Provided on a quiet beach along the coast of northern China's Bohai Bay, that this art museum is carved into the sand where it gently disappears. Countless years of wind have pushed the beach sand into a dune along the shore several meters high, stabilized by low rising shrubs and other ground cover. Inspired by children's tireless digging in the sand, the museum lies beneath this dune. Digging creates a series of interconnected, organically shaped spaces which, enveloped by sand, resemble caves. The primeval home of man, whose walls were once a canvas for some of humanity's earliest works of art. Hidden between the sea and the sand, the design of the Dune Art Museum is simple, pure, and touching, a return to primal and timeless forms of space. The decision to create the art museum underneath the dunes surrounding it was born out of both the architect's deep reverence for nature and their desire to protect the vulnerable dune ecosystem formed by natural forces over thousands of years. Because of the museum, these sand dunes will be preserved instead of leveled to make space for ocean view real estate developments, as has happened to many other dunes along the shore. A series of cell-like contiguous spaces accommodate the Dune Art Museum's rich and varied programs, which include differently sized galleries and a cafe. After passing through a long, dark tunnel and a small reception area, the space suddenly opens up as visitors enter the largest multifunctional gallery. There, a beam of daylight from the skylight above silently yet powerfully fills the space. Looking through different openings framed by the building, museum goers can observe the ever-changing expressions of the sky and sea throughout the day. A spiral staircase leads to a lookout on top of the sand dune, guiding curious audiences from the dark recesses of the museum's cave-like galleries to the vast openness above. Hidden between the sea and the sand, the museum emerges as a hidden shelter, intimate to the body and soul, a place to thoughtfully contemplate both nature and art. God, the text is long. I will stop now. It's just too long. And here is the building. It's a good building, and the ever experimental Chinese, from whom we can learn a lot, because those who claim that the apathy and the laissez-faire of communism that is dwarfing us I would say China had an even more stringent and severe form of communism. And look what they do now. And why did they advance so much? Because they understood something which Japan understood after the Second World War, that if they don't technologize themselves as much as possible, they will have no chance to, recover themselves from the ashes of the Second World War. China understood the same thing, that only through a very, very, very intense involvement with technology, they can advance. And they did so, and look where they are. They have met architects. This is the second project from China with innovative architectures. And at this very moment, there are countless very interesting projects done in China, which economically is very powerful. They even defeated COVID. How do you explain it? It originated there, but strangely, if I am to trust what is recorded and advertised, they have much less cases of COVID and very few deaths compared with a country like ours, which is 100 times smaller in terms of population. I'm not trying to create an hymn to, but it deserves it actually. I think China, yes, with its questionable methods sometimes, but let's face the truth. It seems they defeated the pandemic, and we can't. The so-called civilized, developed Western world didn't. And so maybe we can learn something from China. But even culturally and artistically and architecturally, they are now in the foreground. In fact, all the innovative architects of today say the same thing. China is at the forefront. The experiments that happen in China, they do not happen in any other part of the world with the same intensity. So what can we say? It's possible to transform the society in a short time. And they did transform themselves. Look, this very work shows clearly that they can be more open-minded, they can invest in experimental architectures, and it's very interesting what we see. In fact, in this presentation, not accidentally, we saw this is the third project in China. One was done by Med Architects, the other one was done by Arata Isozaki. This is done by the Chinese, this Chinese firm. They experiment, and they can do so because they are powerful economically and because they are open-minded. What can we say? The world can criticize them for various things, and yes, they did. They were not blameless, but we also have to look at the good side of things. And then this culture, this country, in 30 years became almost totally different. Who would have conceived such an architecture under Mao? It would have been inconceivable. But look at what they do now. And this is just one example. I'm sure I could have shown projects, other projects for this subject from China. Not only from China, of course. We saw from Belgium, also we saw from the United States. We see now from China. But going underground is telling something also about where we are as as the human species. Why are we going on underground? Why are we attracted by the underground? There must be reasons why the cave is having a so-called revival. And maybe these reasons are not all of an apocalyptic nature. Now I'll show a work from Romania, which was not really done by man, is Salina Turda, which is beautiful, I would say, and in my opinion, it is the best architectural work in the country. Look at this. I think it's magnificent. Uh, yeah, it's you know, salt mine that was is not used any longer, and it was transformed into a space that is destined for you know, leisure and so on. But I think it's mysterious, is impressive, is monumental, is I would say that this, if we can call it a building, is one of the best concerned with or you know, addressing this theme, the cave revival. Look at this, and I think the interventions of the architects and designers who worked to accommodate you know, contemporary functions within this very impressive interior did a good job. Bravo to them. I don't know about everything there, those roulette tables or whatever they are, not roulette. Anyway, I'm not good at this, but yeah, there is a problem, of course, when you try to transform everything into an amusement park. But the space itself is very, very impressive. Almost religiously so. Sorry about this picture of Alami. They make nice pictures, but they ruin them with a obnoxious name, identifying the proud ownership. But on the other hand, the mixture functions. On one hand, the majestic interior, and on the other, you know, these human fragilities, both aesthetically speaking and in terms of function. Maybe it is created an interesting and inciting conjunctio oppositorum. It is a fantastic interior, no doubt. You know, I probably even Andrei Tarkovsky would have loved it. That's it. So thank you very much. I didn't expect to make a presentation today, but I hope you